What is going on, YouTube? We're here for the week in review in the wonderful sports card markets. I'm trying this live for the first time, so if this is a disaster compared to what it normally is like, that's why. So we're going to see how this goes. We might try to do this live going forward. So I'm going to go through it like normal, and if anyone pops into chat, we will maybe veer off into random directions. Let me just see. Lost Fortune, can you confirm that you can hear me okay? That would be very helpful. We will get started in just a second here. Alrighty. What is going on? Can you guys hear me okay? Am I coming through okay? If I could get some confirmations that audio sounds fine and is working good, we will get rolling. Perfect. Awesome. All right. All right, I'm going to go through this just like normal, and if chat has some questions, we will go ahead and tackle them. So let's get into it. All right. So, little weekly recap for the wonderful sports card market. Another wild and crazy week. The NBA bubble has shrunk. We are now essentially into the playoffs. That has affected some things. There has been some dips, some upticks, all sorts of shenanigans. So, but first, before we get into that, let's talk about grading. Oh, Beckett. Oh, good old BGS. If you guys have been following the channel for a while, I am not the biggest on submitting cards to BGS for grading. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. They are the most expensive. They are the slowest right now by far, and they don't resale very well. They have been the hottest mess of the three grading companies, and that is saying something given the shenanigans that SGC has been going through. But they make PSA and SGC look good. So, they put out updated grading times this week. And what a mess those are. So, a 2-day submission with them is actually 5 to 10 days plus. A 5-day sub is 10 to 15 days. And then if you go down, this one here is my favorite. 30-day submission, approximately 22 weeks. 10-day submission, 8 to 10 weeks. Sure. Good luck, Beckett. I fully believe they are actively encouraging people, because this is after they've already raised their prices. I fully believe they are just actively don't want people to submit cards to them right now. It's just crazy. Beckett to me is absolutely crazy right now. Blowout forums, most of the Facebook groups are not happy with them at all right now. I don't think it'll affect their resale prices very much, but Beckett 9.5s just don't resell well to begin with, especially compared to like a PSA 10. I think they are great cards to target to buy. I personally would not submit to them. Um, I just don't think it makes any sense to submit cards to them right now. So it's pretty much PSA or bust right now, unfortunately, because SGC is also so backed up. Unless you're going through a bulk sub, I'm watching their whole "it can wait" nonsense with SGC at 40 to 45 days. They have to prove to me that they can actually hit that mark, and I don't believe that they can. I think what they're doing is they're prioritizing bulk sub people. So if you're going through a bulk submitter with SGC, you might actually get your cards back in a relatively normal amount of time. If you're submitting on your own, good freaking luck. I'll have another SGC video later this week because I have cards coming back from them, so I'm going to hold all that crap to when I actually get the cards back. And then I'll unload on them with both barrels. But it's pretty much just PSA is the only one that makes sense, and that sucks. I hate that there's only one option, but PSA 10s sell for the most by far. Some PSA 9s outsell BGS 9.5s, or is at least close to it. Like, I get the whole subgrade appeal of BGS. I like their cases, but it just, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense right now to submit to them. Unfortunately, I really wish it did. I wish there was better competition in the market right now, but there's just not. So, let's move off grading. I hate talking about it all the time, but it's probably the #1 key market driver of the hobby / investing right now, so you got to talk about it, but it's just not a fun topic to talk about. Everyone just gets mad because you're not using the company that they prefer. The Defense Force comes out for whatever company you're not talking up. So let's move on. Let's get into some individual cards and what is going on in the wonderful world. I've mentioned this a few times before. I was curious to see what happened as these guys got eliminated and went home. What happened to their prices? So we've had 2 interesting test cases for that now, and the data is limited because this just happened at the tail end of last week, just a couple days ago. Between Booker, Lillard, and Morant, 2 of the 3 had to go home. Only one was going on, and it ended up being Lillard. Not too surprising. But Booker and Morant made a pretty good run for the money. So this is the last 7-day chart on Booker from Market Movers. And you could see it was creeping up, creeping up, creeping up. Peaked on the 13th, which is right before they got eliminated, and now has dipped slightly. I have looks like the last recorded average sale on this one is 814, so it's missing about a day's worth of data. But none might have sold yesterday. This isn't a super high pop count card. But you can see over the last 7 days, it's still up 43%. But what I'm going to be curious to watch, and we'll have a better idea of this in next week's video, is what this little section right here, does it keep going or does it flatten out? Now, I don't think we're going to see a massive sell-off like we did with Zion. I do not like GMA at all. I don't. The hobby and investors look at them as basically raw cards, even in a GMA 10. So I would never personally use them. I may buy a GMA 10. I would immediately crack it and either sell it raw or resubmit it somewhere else. But I'm just not big on GMA. It's just, yeah, what Heatbreaker said. It's basically a fancy mag with a label on it. That's pretty much how the hobby treats them, or especially the investor side of the hobby treats them. So, but getting back to Booker, I will be curious to see where this graph goes over the next 7 days. Like I was saying, I don't think he sees a Zion-like fall off because he's going out on a peak. He looked great. The team looked great. They were playing about as good as they possibly could. They won 8 straight games. He's super young. He's trendy. Gary V loves him. He's been getting pumped left and right, and then he played well and backed it all up, and his card prices went nuts. So I think we see a slight pullback, but I don't think we're going to see like a 30% sell off like we did on Zion. I have a feeling it dips a little bit, maybe back down to like this $1,000 level. Maybe even just a skosh lower than that, but around there. And then what's probably going to happen is it's going to dip, and then it's basically going to level off, and then it'll slowly creep back up as the next season begins to ramp back up again. That's my thought process with that. We'll see if that actually happens. So that's Devin Booker. But like I said, this is going to be interesting because it'll be a good test case going forward. If guys get eliminated from the playoffs, but they played well, we can use this as an indicator for what their prices are going to do. Like when Luka gets knocked out of the playoffs, or Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. Now they should go a little bit farther. Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., Donovan Mitchell, any of those not like LeBron level ultra stars or AD or Giannis, but like that tier 2 all-star, all-NBA first-team players, but not someone that has the gravitas of a LeBron or a Greek freak. So I really think this Booker card is worth monitoring just to use it as like a market indicator for how things might spin forward with this. So next up on the list, let's talk about Chronicles basketball. Chronicles basketball came out, and if anyone out there has gone looking for it in retail, it has been an absolute disaster. I started going hard for retail back at Optic release. I was not back into the game fully when Prism came out this year. Boy, I wish I was, but I wasn't. I dabbled last year with some singles, bought some singles into the fall, didn't rip any wax at all. And then in the winter, I started picking it back up again hard. Optic, I found relatively no problem. I used Optic to figure out the stalker schedule for a bunch of targets in my area and managed to do fairly well with Optic. I got lucky at a couple Walmarts. Spin that forward, Mosaic came out. Same thing. I knew the stocking schedule for Target. It hadn't changed, and I've never given a stalker money. I don't have any phone numbers. I don't have any backroom deals. I just put the time in. I made a whole video about this. It's my most popular video by far. And figured out when, this about 9 stores restock in my area. Sometimes I would get beat out. Sometimes I would go and I would get, 40 blasters of Mosaic. I think I have it on a spreadsheet, 200 and some blasters of Mosaic, about another 80 or 90 cello packs, and I sold a good chunk of that off to cover a lot of expenses. So, fast forward to Chronicles. I went out this week. This is my own personal experience. The tail end of Mosaic, almost all my targets all the targets in my area put limits in place. Anywhere from 1 to 4 SKUs, boxes, packs, whatever. Everyone was different. Each store was different how they were handling it, but they all had limits. Okay? So I went around once for Bowman Megas. I'm not a big baseball guy. I did it more just to see if the schedule was still the same because I hadn't checked for a while because no NBA product was coming out. And then I went out looking for Chronicles last week. So I went to the first store on Monday morning, and the way that my target stock is, there's about 9 or 10 stores all within about an hour of me. Essentially 2 to 3 get stocked each day starting from Monday and run through Thursday. So the store closest to me stocks on Monday. I went out there. And when I got there, I know that he usually stocks between 10 and 11 o'clock. I got there at 10. And I've never had good luck at this store, but I figured it's 5 minutes from my house. Let me give it a whirl. I walked in, and there were 15 people lined up waiting for him to come stock the shelf. I literally laughed out loud, turned around, and got back in my car and left. Um, I had some running around to do. I was off that day. And then I knew the second store that he stocked, so I swung in there around lunch, and it was the exact same situation. So I was like, okay, I haven't had the best luck at these two stores, so maybe this just is what it is. Um, Tuesday rolls around. I go to the store that he stocks on Tuesday mornings. There's a I got there late. He is still stocking, but the cards were already behind customer service. They weren't even leaving them on the shelf. I got like 2 boxes. Cool. Wednesday, same thing as Monday. Thursday, same thing as Monday. I went to various different stores. Anywhere from 8 to 15 people lined up waiting to get Chronicles basketball and Topps Chrome baseball. I checked a few Walmarts in the week. They were either wiped out or I ran into some situations where I just missed the vendor, but people were literally camped out in the card section waiting. It's gotten absolutely ridiculous. On Facebook and a couple Discords that I'm in, I have seen various reports of people doing all sorts of crazy stuff. There were 2 instances of people impersonating reps and going into stores, going to the back, getting the product, and either straight stealing it, or there was a case in Columbus, Ohio, where the guy went to 6 different stores, loaded it up in carts, and just checked it out. He paid for it, legitimately just checked out with it, and left. So it's just getting wild out there for retail product. I honestly think these stores are going to say no more. Enough. It's not worth the hassle. I don't know what Target and Walmart's business relationship with is, MJ Holdings and Excel, but it's not even their stock. A third-party company does it. So I'm going to be real curious to see if by next fall the retail model drastically changes. I wouldn't be surprised if it changes in the next couple weeks. I think these stores are done with this. Facebook all week was, in Discord, was pictures of people camped out, like literally camped out in card aisles, waiting for the vendors to maybe stop by. You know, you get 10 people there. Like, am I really going to wait in line for 2 hours for a blaster and a hanger of Chronicles when, like, a Target has a limit on it? No. No way in hell am I going to do that, especially for Chronicles, which is the bargain basement of the retail releases. So Chronicles' third party or secondary market right now is about 3x, 2.5x. Blasters are going for about $70. So I guess that's 2.5x. I can see that they started really high. They were 4x, then 3x, then 2.5x. I think they're going to level off of 2.5x until this week rolls around. If stores get restocked again this week, and the bot boys get their orders in from online, the market's going to get flooded and the prices will drop down again. I would probably buy some to hold at around $40 to $50 if they get that low. I would not open them. Do not open them. Buy them, hold on to them. You'd have to hold them for probably about, let's say, 60 days. Once the restocks stop and the supply dries up, they'll shoot right back up. Go look at what Mega Blasters go for, and go look, or Optic Blasters go for. Look at what Mosaic Blasters go for. I'm not going to count Prism because Prism's an outlier, because their stuff's so expensive. The singles are so expensive to begin with. So at some point in time, there's going to be a buying opportunity on Chronicles Wax, most likely. So keep an eye out for that. If you see the prices on that fall, buy it. Do not open it. Chronicles singles are not worth it, I don't think. Yes, Lost in Fortune. I am thinking the same thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore your question, but I would not be surprised if stores were like, this is for the birds why are we dealing with this? Because I can't imagine that their profit margin is enough to justify the shenanigans that they're dealing with on this. So um, let's talk about a couple Chronicles singles. The most popular Chronicles single besides Prism Updates. Prism Update is the thing everyone wants out of it. You have an AD card in there. What else? Kendrick Nunn, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant. That's the stuff everyone wants out of here. The actual non-Prism Update stuff is not selling well at all. So the number one card out of it when the set first releases this Ja Luminance. This card is probably one of the best pitchers I've seen on a basketball card in years. Funny thing about this, for my Cavs and poor Kevin Love, Ja did miss that dunk. Don't get me wrong, it's a great looking photo. Ja missed the dunk. Don't do my boy Kevin Love like that. He brought me an NBA championship. So the Luminance stuff and the Flux, which I think these cards are hideous looking, but a lot of people seem to like them, are two of the more. There's a ton of different sets in here. I did not want to run data on all of them. I just pulled two to see what was going on, and my side battery died. I don't know that we'll need this camera, but just in case. These singles started extremely high, as you can see, because this is a Bloodbath of Red, and then dropped. This is not surprising. This has nothing to do with Chronicles. Most sets, when cards first come out, this is how it works. The singles get priced up really high because there's not much supply. Everyone starts ripping wax, and then the market floods, and everything starts coming back down again. So this is completely normal. What's funny is, so on the Flux, the Zion is a little bit more than the Ja, but on the Luminance, the Ja is crushing the Zion. It sells for almost double. That Zion photo is actually not bad either. If I was going to target singles out of this product, this is paper, which doesn't usually hold value as well as the Chrome cards do. It would probably be the Luminance stuff. I think those are the two best looking cards in the set. And sorry guys, my side camera died. I don't know if it matters or not, if we'll need it, but sorry, let me get back on track here. I'm not going to worry about that camera, just in case if we need it, we will figure it out. Move that off to the side. So yeah, that's Chronicles in the single market. Chronicles is a fine product. It is not the craziest. I would not be investing heavily into NBA Chronicles from a sealed perspective. Let's move on because we are running a little bit long. Ja and Zion. Oh, Ja and Zion. So, this is, I went back, what did I go back on this chart? 30 days. This right here, 731, was basically Zion's peak PSA 10 Prism price. You could see they dropped down. They got very close to Ja jumping him in price like I thought might happen. The gap is very narrow, and actually over the last 30 days, Ja is up 22%. Let's change this and just look at the last week. So it looks like Zion prices have leveled out. It looks like they bottomed out at about 500 to 550, or 525 to 550. From a high of almost 900, more readily in the mid eights, mid to low eights was pretty much the high, and he shaved almost $200 off that price. My gut tells me is we may not have hit the absolute bottom, but it's probably towards the bottom, and it's gonna probably spike down a little bit, spike up a little bit, but I don't think it goes below 500, and if it does, I don't think it'll stay there for very long. I think it basically stays relatively flat until we get through the off season, and then things start picking back up again as hype builds for the new season. His price will slowly start to climb. I'm going to be very curious to see what happens with Ja's prices. Um, this is missing yesterday's data for some reason. I don't know why, but I manually went and looked, and his stuff stayed stable at around 550. Now, he played great yesterday. He had a monster stat line. He looked really good. So we'll see what happens after about a week. Once again, I think next week's going to be telling when I do the week in review and look back 7 days to see Booker and Ja's prices once the playoffs get rolling and people start focusing on those players. What happens to their prices? Ja went out on a high note. I do not expect him to have a 30% drop in prices like Zion did. I think he ticks down slightly and then levels off. Right now, he's selling for on here 530-ish. I saw some stuff yesterday where they were selling for mid 550s. I could see that going down to maybe as low as 500, maybe slightly under, and then leveling out and once again following the same pattern. It'll stay flat relatively and then slowly tick up as the hype builds for next season. But I don't see Ja taking a massive price hit just because he's not in the bubble. He went out on about as good a note as you could go out on for not making the playoffs. Him and Booker both. So I think we see a little bit of downturn, but I don't think much. And I still wouldn't be surprised if Ja jumps Zion at some point in time. We almost had it. I said it 2 weeks ago. I think Ja jumps Zion, and we got damn close right here. If Ja made the playoffs, 100% this line would have blown right through Zion's. But didn't happen, still might, but I think these two stay relatively close. And we're talking about both Prism PSA 10s. The interesting thing I found is the optic. Lee, I'll get to your question in just 1 second. Let me finish up this stuff on Ja and Zion. The optic PSA 10s, Ja has passed Zion. If you look here, the dark blue line is Ja, the pink line is Zion. So the same thing, this late July was Zion's peak price in Prism, which mirrors in optic, was actually peaked in optic a little bit sooner. And the sell-off started a little bit earlier, and Ja actually jumped up, and they were even right here on 8-1. The Zion sell-off happened. Ja kept going. Zion popped back up, and you can see these lines kind of keep switching around on each other. They both kind of crashed, and then Ja picked back up again. And right now, the ending average on the Ja is higher than on Zion by $30. This is going back 30 days. Let's look at the last 7 on this. And you can see the last 7. Both are trending down the last 7. Ja spiked back up. Once again, I think that's because he played out of his mind yesterday. So I'll be curious to see if this does the same thing, if these two keep kind of switching places with each other. And I think they probably go down a little bit more and then once again flatten out. But I just found it interesting that in optic, Ja has jumped Zion. Usually, optic mirrors Prism just at a lower price point almost identically. In this case, it hasn't, which I find that interesting. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. I really like the optic cards. I know they're kind of plain, but I've just always liked that rated rookie logo, man. I'm a child of the 80s and early 90s. That just does it for me. That gets me. The Zion card obviously looks not great because of the way he's holding the ball like it's a chocolate chip cookie. Lee asks in chat, thoughts on Siakam. He played extremely well pre-bubble. I have not looked at his prices lately, but he played like garbage in the bubble games leading up to the official playoffs next week. I If you believe in him, I'd have to look at his prices to see if they've trended down. If his prices have gone down on stuff, it would be worth looking at. I know his prisms and his optics sell extremely high, especially his PSA 10 prism was way up there. It was like $500 or $600, I think, at one point in time. Um, but he just has not, for whatever reason, looked right since the um, start of the bubble games. Let me go back 30. Yeah, this is his optic, and over the last 30, his optic is up to almost 400. Let me look at raw. I don't know why his prism's not in there. That's weird. And Market Movers doesn't seem to have his prism, which I find that surprising. But yeah, I mean, over the last 30, his raw has basically stayed flat. I don't know. I just have concerns on how bad he played in the bubble games. I don't know. I love Thibault. I've picked up some Thibault, nothing crazy. And I saw today that he may be starting um, against Boston. Now, I don't think the 76ers are going to win that series. Sorry, I'm just looking for my... So I picked this up before the... Oh, I don't have the side camera on. Dummy. I picked up some Thibault before the bubble stuff started. I like him as a long-term hold. I would not quick flip Thibault. If he could get his offense together, I think he could be really good because he's going to get playing time because he's so good defensively. So no matter what team he's on, he's going to get run based off that. So next thing I want to talk about is Dame, just because his prices continue to go nuts. So Lillard over the last 7 days is up 88%. He started the beginning of the week at 1,500 on his PSA 10 Prism and is up to 3K. I will say this: if I had Dame, I would probably sell now. I don't think the Trailblazers are going to beat the Lakers. They barely beat the Grizzlies on Saturday. They looked gassed. If I had a major position in him, I would cash out now. If you own like multiple, say you had 3 PSA 10s or something, or you had 2, sell 1, hold 1, sell 2, hold 1, etc. But if I made a bunch of profit off Dame stuff, I would consider selling, especially depending on what your price point of entry is. Dame is really good. I don't think he's like all-time great generational, LeBron, Kobe type. So if you could make $2,000 on a PSA 10, I wouldn't be afraid to lock that in and move it into something else. That's just my opinion on him. I love him. He's great. But that Trailblazers team is never going to win a Western Conference championship. Not in the West. The West is too loaded. They're fun, but I just don't ever see him getting an MVP or a ring being stuck up in Portland. Maybe if he gets out of there, but I feel like the time he gets out of Portland is he's going to be on the downslope. And maybe he gets one late in his career as like a role player or something for somebody. But he's a damn good player. He's just stuck in the wrong situation. And if I can lock it, if I got in on this, like let's go back 30 days on Dame here. So, if you bought Dame 30 days ago at $658 and you're telling me you could sell it now for almost 3K, I'm taking that profit every day. If it goes up from 3K and goes to 6K, awesome. The next guy that bought it off me makes 3K too. I just don't think that happens. And I think his prices would creep down a little bit when he goes out of the bubble. Just if I can make $1,400, $1,300 on a card. I'm sorry, $2,300 on a card for what I don't think is, a Giannis level player. I'm doing that every time. Like I said, if you got multiple, set one off to the side or whatever. But That's my hot take on Dame. Maybe it bites me in the ass, but I see some questions in chat. Better off investing in singles or rookie year wax, in your opinion? Wax is always king if you can resist not ripping it. That's my problem. I had a nice little stockpile of wax. I was doing really good not opening it. Then a global pandemic hit, and I was stuck in my house for 3 months, and I ripped it all. I had nothing crazy. I had a lot of optic that I was sitting on, and I ended up ripping all of it. And I did not get the greatest pulls. I would have been much better off saving it. The thing with wax is you get the entire class, not one player. So if you were sitting on a pile of, say, Prism wax, and say next year Zion, heaven forbid, tears an ACL or rips an Achilles, if you're invested in Zion cards, you're sunk. If you're invested in 18 or 1920 wax, you still have Ja, you still have Tyler Hero, you still have who am I forgetting? A ton of guys. R.J. Barrett, if he ends up becoming something good, that class was loaded. Same with 1819. If something ever bad happens to Luka, you still have Trae Young in that class. You have MPJ in that class now, and vice versa. Change the names around. Wax is like a mutual fund. You're not all in on Amazon. You're all in on the class. And wax almost always goes up because every time someone rips a pack, it gets more scarce and harder to find. Wax is one of the best, safest long-term investments there is. You don't see massive price spikes because someone has a really good game like you do now in the singles market. But if you're just looking to throw a bunch of money at somewhere and lock it in a closet and hide it from yourself, wax is one of the safest things you can get into. The trick is don't touch it, and then when you go to resell it, sell it sealed. It's not fun. Investing in wax is not fun. You can't watch wax run around on the court and throw up 30, 20, and 15s like Luka does. But wax is the best, safest thing that's out there. The reason most people don't invest in wax is because they want to watch their players on the court. The sports card investing / hobby is basically turned into DFS. You're investing in a player and you want to watch that player perform on the court and put up numbers and watch your, in this case, dollars go up instead of fantasy points. That's the best way I can equate it to. And wax you just can't do that on, but wax is the safest thing that's out there. It's not even close. It is not even close. Chronicles wax, unless you need the money, I would hold. If you need the money to put into something else, I totally get it. You're still locking in a good 2 to 3x profits. Look at what last year's Chronicles wax is selling for, and compare the two. All these wax prices, the same thing happens the first couple weeks they come out. The flippers and stuff just undercut each other to move off of it as quickly as possible and get the money back and move on to the next thing. And if you're willing to sit on it, it's going to go back up again. It might take a couple months, but it's going to go back up again. I'll give you a real life example. This just happened to me not long ago. Walmart's got that Optic Mega restock. When was that? A month and a half ago? 2 months ago? I don't remember the exact date. That Walmart's randomly got Optic Megas that they were supposed to get back in February and March, but they didn't get because the pandemic hit and they never got shipped out from MJ Holdings or whatever. I found 9 at a local Walmart, did a video on it. I ripped 3 of them. Walmart Megas retail for $38, I think. At the time, they were reselling before this restock happened for like 160, 170, 180. It was insane. Restock happened, they tanked in price. They went down to almost $80 a pop, like within a week. The bottom fell out from under them. Well, this Walmart restock was small. I got the 9. I opened 2 on camera. I opened 1 off camera, and then I set 6 aside. I thought about selling them, and then there was like, there's really nothing I need this money for right now. I could have sold them for double easy. I could have easily got 2x, 2.5x. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to stick these to the side. And then I kept an eye on them. I was watching the restocks on social media. The second week rolled around. They got restocked again, but there was only like 3 or 4 megas in all the pictures on Facebook, not 9 like everybody else had the week before. Week after that, stock was even less. Week after that, people weren't finding them anymore. Then the prices started ticking back up. They were going up about $10 a week. And then just this past week, I finally sold my Optic Megas. I got $150 a piece for them. So I waited 2 months. Maybe I don't even think it was a full 2 months. And they went from $80 to $150 a box. I sold all 6 of them. I got just under $600 after fees and shipping. So I made a little less than $150 a box. It probably came out to about $140 a box. But I got to the point where I thought that was a pretty good return, and I wanted to use that money to go buy other things. So I decided to sell at that point. And yes, Anthony, I 100% agree from you. The wax market is not going to crash out unless the whole house of cards comes down. If everything blows up, then yeah, the wax market might come down again. I will say Prism Wax took a small hit with the Zion decrease in price. And I think that's just because the demand lessened a little bit because Zion looked so bad, and it wasn't crazy. Prism retail boxes were almost up to $800 a box. They dipped down to about $750-ish right now. You could find them for maybe as low as $700. But I think that was more due to what was going on with Zion than anything else. I do think if you're willing to hold the Chronicles wax, it is going to go up. It's just a matter of, are you okay tying that money up? You got assuming you put it on a credit card or whatever, that credit card statement's going to come due. If you're okay pulling that money out of your checking account to pay off the shelf that you cleared of, $600 or $700, whatever it cost you to wipe out a shelf, if you're willing to put out that money and hold it for 2 months, you're going to make way more in the long run. That just depends on your situation. If you could do that, great. If you can't, 2 to 3x instant profit is not terrible, but you do have the opportunity to make more. Thank you, Alec, very much. Ashley, I do not see Optic catching Prism. I see it getting back up to Mosaic levels for sure. Look back to see what Optic Megas were selling for prior to the Walmart restock. That was about their peak, and then they nosedived. So go back on like 130 point, and I forget exactly when that happened. I could actually tell you exactly when it happened because I made a video on it. Give me 1 second. Let me find the video. I put that video out July 2nd. So look to see what they were selling for in late June, and I would say that's your ceiling on Optic Megas, at least. And they may even go up beyond that. Once again, what I like to do is looking at last year's prices for this stuff. So go look at last year's Optic. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I shouldn't have said that, because last year's wax in general, Optic and Prism both just went crazy because Luca had that monster weekend. When Luca's PSA 10 prices went from $1,200 to $2K in a day, the wax prices went nuts. But in general, I like to look back to last year. Last year's class was amazing, and it compares well to this class because last year you had Luca and Trey. This year you have Zion and Ja. And now last year you added an MPJ, but this year you also have Tyler Hero and some other guys. So they're fairly well-balanced classes. So when it comes to wax, I like to look at what last year's stuff was going for, and then you could kind of spin it forward. Last year's did just get a bump because of the Luca stuff, though, going absolutely bonkers. I like the variations, Cole. If you could pick them up, I would wait to see if there's a little bit of a dip. There's no rush to buy Ja right now. His stuff's not going to go crazy up because he's not playing anymore. And I don't think it's going to go crazy down, but I would wait to see if there's a small price dip in his prices and then maybe try to buy. But I don't think there's going to be a huge dip like we saw with Zion. So the variations are cool. Um, and they have a much, much lower pop count. I'm a little worried on Aaron Gordon right now. I would wait because I don't think he's going to play well in this playoff because he's coming off a hamstring injury. The Magic are probably going to get destroyed, so I would wait for them to get eliminated. And if his prices go down, then look at him for a buying opportunity. I would not buy in Aaron Gordon right this very minute. I'd wait for him to potentially miss games or look bad because he has an injury, and then to get bounced out of the playoffs. And then if you want Aaron Gordon, go after it in about midweek next week to the week after and see what his prices do. But there's no reason to buy him Aaron Gordon right now unless because he's not at his floor yet. I would look to catch him on the downswing. Let's look at the next couple of cards I have to talk about here, and then we will dive back into chat stuff. Next one I got over the last, and this one's an interesting one. Tyler Hero. His base and his prism silver, both raw. I chose raw because I had charts for both of them. So if I scroll down here, and this is going back 7 days as well, you could see his silver is up 60% over the last 7 days, and his base is only up 13% the last couple days. I say this all the time, Prism leads the way, and PSA leads the way. Now, obviously, we're not talking about graded stuff here, but Prism Silvers are the ultra cutting edge. Typically, all prices move off the Prism Silvers. When you see a massive spike in the Prism in a guy's cards, it's usually Prism Silvers and base Prisms. I find it odd that his Prism Silver is up 60% over the last 7 days, and he played well. He's been looking good in the limited run that he's gotten. He's filled in for the Dragon as he's been hurt and a few other little things. But the base has not followed suit, so I'm guessing it's going to. So you could see this base make another little run up to close the gap on the silver. You can see here on the line, this is creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, and the base has just stayed flat for the most part. So if you're in the Tyler Hero, this might not be a bad point before they play a playoff game to jump in on some raw stuff. We'll see what happens. I don't know how much run he's going to get once playoff games actually start. I mean, he's going to lead the second unit, I think. And he could have some pretty big games. But if you're looking into getting a hero, I think that base Prism has some room to grow just based off what the silver Prism pricing is doing. Next one we're going to talk about, as we have gone extremely long, which is fine. I figured this live would go a lot longer just because of questions with chat and stuff. Trae Young. Trae Young stuff has been going nuts. This is the last 7 days. Everything is up, almost 30 to 50%. His PSA 10 is leading the charge at 50%. The PSA 9's at 30%, BGS 9.5 at 40%, and Raw at 30%. Now, or 22%. You may ask yourself, what has Trae Young done besides sit at home and play some Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever he's into? Nothing. That's exactly what he's been doing. What I think is happening with the Trae prices are a couple of things. One, some groups have pumped him. I know SCI he was on their buy list about a week ago to go out and get him. And another couple influencers / whatever you want to call it guys are also have been pushing Trae Young. Essentially what their logic is and what it's based on is Trae Young and Michael Porter. When Michael Porter Jr. played really well and his prices shot up, his PSA 10 went up to Trae pricing. And the theory basically is if Michael Porter Jr. is priced at $500 for a PSA 10 base Prism and Trae Young's $500 for a base Prism, Trae Young should be more than Michael Porter Jr. is essentially the very boiled down logic of all this. So essentially what happened is the market inflated and Trae Young got left behind, and now that money is flowing to Trae Young to bring him back up essentially to his proper ratio over MPJ. It's not quite as simple as that, but that's the basic way to break it down is Trae is a better player than Michael Porter Jr. If Michael Porter Jr. is worth $500, Trae should be worth more than $500. So that's essentially the logic. His prices were lagging because he wasn't playing, and now the market is catching up to that and is now boosting it back up again, which is healthy. That's normal. That's normal market activity. That's the things you want to see is players going up and down. Um, you could be very right. Card currency. I don't. Their rotation is all over the place because they got Nunn, they got Hero, they got Duncan Robinson, they got Jimmy Butler, they got the Dragon. It just depends who they run out there, and it very well could be, individual matchup based. And I think all of them have a chance to have big games. Even the Dragon, um, with his carcass going up and down the floor. Nunn had a really big game his last game before the bubble games ended. Um, Heroes looked really good. Um, I wasn't a huge believer in him, but I think if the Dragon ever gets out of the way and he gets regular starting playing time, um, he could put up some pretty nice numbers. They have Duncan Robinson there too. That backcourt is just loaded. I would be just as in general, if you can find deals on Heat guys, I would be buying. I think the Heat have a chance to, at minimum, Eastern Conference Finals. Um, that team is legit good. They are experienced. They have one of the best coaches in the league. They have Jimmy Butler. They have Bam. They have Duncan Robinson as the three-point sniper. They got the young kids. They got the old guys. They're like the perfect blend of everything. And they are no nonsense. I could easily see them making a deep, deep playoff run. And the longer these guys go into the playoffs, the more their card prices go up. It's just, that is proven fact. And that was before the market was crazy, and it's going to be even crazier now. So the longer these guys play and play well, their prices are going to go crazy. And I can easily see the Heat making a deep run. Um, Especially just given the way things have shaken out in the Eastern Conference. I am not a Devonte Graham believer. You're not wrong, Alec. He played really well this year. My problem with Devonte Graham is his age. He's like older than Devin Booker, and Devin Booker's been in the league for like 3 years. I think Graham is like 24 or 25 or something crazy. I forget his exact age. The other problem is his team sucks. He did play really good this year. I would not be afraid to cash out if I made good profit on Devonte Graham. Um, if you want to hold a couple just in case he goes nuclear, that's cool. If I was holding multiple, my general theory is on most guys is hold some stuff and sell off a majority of it. Essentially, lock in the profits and lock in the profits on guys and set some to the side. That is generally what I like to do with these guys, just so I know that I'm not going to lose on them. So that's typically just the way that I generally approach those types of guys. I would sell off some to lock in the profits and then hold off to a couple off to the side. By Ben B, quantity wise, rookies, because I ripped a ton of wax this year. Quality wise, stars. If I pull up, I will pull this up. This is the My Collection tool on Market Movers. So this shows essentially everything that you own that is in the system. Not everything is in the system yet, so it's not perfect, but most super popular stuff is. Um, so you put in when you bought it, how much you paid for it, and it tracks everything. And then you could track your sales. So if I go over here to my total, so my total collection value, according to this, is 16,500. And if you come up here and you look at the bulk of it, it's these few cards. My collection is not huge, but most of it is this Giannis BGS 9.5 at $4,000, Luka Optic PSA 10s, a Luka BGS, a Tatum PSA 10 Prism, Morant Raw, Luca Prism, um, Juan Soto. I don't have like a lot of like LeBron vet. Well, I take that back. I do have a lot of LeBron vet stuff from this year. I don't have like his '08 tops where he's chalk tossing. I'd actually like to get that card. Um, but most of my value, most of my collection value, I would say is Luca, Giannis, um, Tatum, and Morant is where a large chunk of my stuff is. And then I have tons of low dollar stuff on ungraded rookies from 1819 or 1920 wax. Um, Let me get caught up on chat questions here, and then I just got a few more charts I want to show you guys. I think RJ Barrett is a good buy. I'm going to make a list of guys to track during the playoffs that this is going to be an upcoming video. I just don't know when I'm doing it yet. I'm going to look into some guys to see who are good targets that are on teams that aren't currently playing, and RJ Barrett's on the list to dig into. I think Trae Young's prices are justified. Trae Young goes out. He's a terrible defensive player. Don't get me wrong. That Hawks team is young. People are going to love that Hawks team. They love Cam Reddish. They love DeAndre Hunter. They love John Collins. They love Trae Young. And the last time Trae Young played, we were not in this wild-ass market that we're in now where everyone overreacts to an individual game. What's going to happen when Trae Young starts playing next season? And if the market conditions stay relatively the same, what's going to happen when Trae Young goes out there and goes a week straight dropping 40-point games? His prices are going to go crazy. And he has that capability. Trae has done that before where, I play a lot of NBA DFS, and there'd be weeks where you would just ride him into the ground because he was just going out there putting up 40-point games every consecutive night. They'd lose, but he'd put up monster stat lines. I just can't imagine him doing that right now in this micro market where prices go like crazy based off guys having big games. I don't know if that carries over into the NBA regular season next year when every game's not an event like it was in this bubble. But I still think that stuff's going to get noticed more than what it was before. So I need to grab a drink real quick here, guys. Rui dropped Alec because Rui played like garbage in the bubble. I had a stack of Rui Hachimura stuff set aside to sell if he looked good, and he did not. So I did not end up selling it. But I would wait for him to bottom out, and then if you wanted to buy, I'm just a little worried that he didn't look that great. He just looked like an average NBA player, which is fine. But he did not show me anything in the perfect opportunity. Like, the bubble was basically built for him to get run, and he just did not grab it. I don't know if that was just more the Wizards not taking things seriously because they know they didn't have a chance. But Troy Brown Jr. looked good for the Wizards, but I just don't think Rui played that well, and it hurt his prices. So, card currency. My thought on the Knicks are they're just an organizational nightmare. That's my biggest concern with them. But if RJ Barrett plays well, his stuff will go crazy because he's a Knick, and their market's huge. And people would love, the Knicks fan base would love to buy into their hot young player. So if he can look good, I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth on him. But I haven't looked at any of his stuff. Like I said, I'm going to circle back in and dig into guys not in the bubble or not in the playoffs and make a list of guys to target in this offseason. Because what's going to happen is money's going to flow to the playoff guys, and the guys not playing are going to get forgotten about, and their prices should creep down. So it'll create a buying opportunity for those guys. Two more charts to talk about, and then I'll see if there's any other questions in chat, and then we'll get out of here because I've been going for almost an hour. This time goes fast when you do these live. Holy hell, guys. Kobe. Kobe prices have gone crazy. PSA 9, PSA 10, BGS 9.5. Doesn't matter. This is his 96 tops. I just picked this out of a hat, but pretty much all the Kobe rookie cards have gone absolutely nuts. Let's run this for the last, this is a 30-day chart you're looking at here. Last 30, they are all up. This was the interesting thing on this one. So over the last 14 or so, the PSA 9 and 10 are up 25 to 30%. And this is going on for a couple different reasons. Mamba Week got announced, and it gave him a big little price bump. And Kobe's just been very trendy for the last couple weeks. His prices have been going up. The interesting thing here, and this is why I like, I'm going to shill for market movers for a minute. And they do not pay me. I pay for this tool out of pocket. They did not give me a free subscription or anything. This right here is where market movers shines. So we are looking at 3 Kobe cards. His PSA 10 right here, his PSA 9 right here, and the BGS 9.5 right here. This sticks out like a sore thumb, and I got this data in 35 seconds, maybe a minute, to enter in these parameters and hit submit. I can easily see his PSA 10's up 25%, his PSA 9's up 32%, his BGS 9.5's only up 5%. That's not right. That should be due for a market correction. So this tells me that in addition to Kobe going up, like normal, BGS 9.5 is lagging behind. There could be a buying opportunity here if you're looking to get into Kobe stuff. That it's going to get an extra bounce because it hasn't gone up this 20 to 30% like the other two have. So that's why I included all 3 grades on this one. But Kobe stuff has been going wild. So let me get this last chart out of the way, and then I will circle back around the chat, and then we will get out of here and end this stream. Last one to talk about, Juan Soto. I talked about him in the last video that I did. His prices went ballistic this week. This is the last 7 days. He is up 90% in the chrome, and paper, he's up 50%. Now, interesting thing here. I am not a baseball guy, per se. I have some baseball product. I do not have a ton of baseball product. I have a couple Topps Heritage PSA 10s of some guys that I got back in March super cheap because I like the look of them. I love listening to baseball. It's not, from a sports card collecting side, it's not my jam for the most part. But I've noticed something interesting here as I've begun to dabble with it. Soto got on my radar earlier this week from the Bobbles and Ball Cards Facebook group. He hit 2 home runs on Monday or Tuesday nights. He hit the first one. And here's the other thing with Soto. His prices were climbing up. He got popped on the COVID list, missed the start of the season. They dipped down. We're slowly creeping back up again. He starts the season pretty hot. He hits the home run on Monday or Tuesday's game. I don't remember the exact day. That happens. B&B posted, hey, Soto jacked another one. Looks like he's getting hot. Okay, I go over, I look. I'm like, okay, Soto stuff seems reasonably cheap at around $200 for a PSA 10. And like I said, I don't know baseball very well, so I see, what do I see? I see this card, and I see this card. This is his paper, Topps. This is his chrome. So this is like, for those in chat also not familiar with baseball, that stick mostly to basketball, this is basically like the Prism / Optic version, and this is like the paper Donruss version. So I pulled it up on Market Movers, and both were about the same price. The chrome was slightly under the paper, which to me, as a non-baseball guy, seemed ass backwards, because why would you want the paper? The chrome looks cooler, and the pop count's lower. I don't like to make too big of a deal on pop counts, but it's just something that I noticed. So I asked, because that group's very heavily baseball focused, and they're like, Topps paper is the flagship. That's the quote-unquote true rookie. That's the one that everybody wants. It grades tougher, etc., etc., etc. In my mind, okay, makes sense. I pick up 2 of them. I got one for $175, and I got a second one for $215. In the meantime of all this happening, and this is the 2020 sports card market summed up in my long-ass winded story, he hits a second home run. That is when I instant hit buy on the one for $215. I was thinking about it. He hit the second home run, and Gary Vee tweeted about him, all within the span of 30 minutes. At that point, It was straight up off to the races. I was watching his cards on my slabs. They were selling as fast as I could click on them. His stuff on eBay, anything at Buy It Now best offer, sub $250, was gone, 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 gone. People in the Discords that I'm in and other buying groups that I'm in want to buy Soto, want to buy Soto, want to buy Soto. All of this was happening within a 30 to 45 minute span. You wake up the next morning, his PSA 10 is now $300. The thing that I found interesting here is his Chrome right now is selling for more than his paper. They switched. And this just happened during this spike. My theory on this is, and I'm not the first, this is not an original thought. I had this same, multiple people had this same thought at the same time. I'm not the only one that thought this. Everyone jumped into the sports card market in basketball. Basketball is a chrome-driven product. Whether it's Prism, Optic, Mosaic, whatever, they are all chrome cards. All these people, these new investors to the sports card market, hopped in with everything they had in the basketball. Baseball starts heating up. Their boy Gary V tweets about him. People start talking about him. Let me hop over and start buying up some Juan Soto. And I imagine they did the exact same thing I did and go, well, shit, I want the Chrome card. For sure I want the Chrome card. Wait, the Chrome sells for less than paper? I'm buying all those up. Whereas the real, quote-unquote, baseball collectors are like, no, 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 no. The sanctity of the paper, yada, 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 yada. That's why that one sells for more. Then the new money came in and said, I don't give a crap about your paper. Give me the fancy-ass Chrome stuff. That's what I'm used to. So I'm wondering if, typically, when you look at most players, the Chrome in baseball, from what I'm finding, and once again, I'm new to this, so if I say something stupid, feel free to criticize me. But I think it gives me a fresh perspective on this because people are thinking like I'm thinking. I'm going for the Chrome. I'm going for the Chrome. I'm wondering if on some of these other players, there's going to be a buying opportunity for this Chrome stuff because all the money that's tied up in basketball, that's what we're used to buying, is Chrome product. We want the Chrome. And then we come over here and see Soto stuff, and we're like, the Chrome's cheaper than the paper? This is amazing. I'm buying all these up. These stupid baseball people don't know what they're doing because we don't know any better. So I'm wondering if that continues to spin forward and the Chrome stuff gains in popularity. I don't know that it passes it. I don't know the baseball market well enough, but I think there could be a buying opportunity on some other hot young players for their Chrome cards as new money flows in from the basketball market. I'll be curious to see if this stays going this way. I picked up 2 papers. I did not manage to snag any Chrome. I tried, but they sold out. And the prices jumped before I could get on board on any of them. So I have 2 of these on their way. They should be delivered to me early next week. I'm into them for about $200 and some a piece. Average price of $200 between the 2 purchases, slightly under that. And they're already trending around. I've seen them go for as high as $300, but they're trending around this $280, $290 mark. But like I said, I'm very interested to see if this Chrome price holds at above the paper price. Because from what I can tell, in a situation like this, that normally does not happen. And like I said, I could be talking out of my ass right now because I don't know the baseball market as well. But I think there could be an interesting phenomenon coming with the basketball money shifting over to baseball. So those are all the charts that I had to go. I have ignored chat for the last 5 minutes while I talked about my Soto story. So let me come over here and see what chat is talking about. And then we will wrap up here. Luka pricing, AJ asks, what percentage will it go down once they get eliminated? Bottom for 1,100 and hope it doesn't go down more than that. AB, are you when you say bottom at 1,100, are you talking about Optic or Prism? Because that would be a big difference. In general, I do not see Luka going down much unless something happens to Luka in the playoffs. Assuming they don't get swept and he scores 5 points a night, Luka will dip very slightly. It's not going to be you're not going to see Zion like sell-offs, I don't think. Luka is viewed as the next Giannis. He's the heir. Giannis is the heir apparent to LeBron. Luka is the new Giannis, essentially. I don't want to say he's the heir apparent because they're too close in age, but they're the next generation of the NBA. They're the guys 10 years from now. We're looking back at the Giannis Prism and the Luka Prism are going to be the '03 LeBron Topps Chrome 10 years from now is what most people are thinking. Um, if he takes a dip, it's not going to be much. To me, of my collection that I own, Luka and Giannis are the only two guys I would not sell. I may sell off some fringe stuff to fund other purchases, but I am not selling my Luka Prism. I have two PSA 10 Luka Optics. I am not selling those. I do have an SGC 10 Optic, spoiler alert, for the upcoming SGC submission reveal. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. Tatum I like, but I wouldn't hesitate to sell him if the prices got too large. Zion I would not hesitate to sell. I've sold off most of my Zion for the most part already. Ja to me is a good long-term hold of the younger guys. I'm intrigued by MPJ, but I've also considered selling my MPJ. I got a PSA 10 Prism right before the spike. It's gone up $300 already. That's an easy $300. I'm going to wait to see how he plays in the playoffs and then go from there on MPJ. But I would not be looking to sell Luka, period. Prism, if you got in at 1100 and it's 1800 to 2000 right now, I wouldn't mess with it. I'm going to be very curious to see how they play against the Clippers. The Clippers are a head case team. Dallas can't stop anybody. I don't think they can win. I shouldn't say I don't think they can win. They have a chance to win that series. To me, that's one of the most intriguing first-round series as an NBA fan and as a sports card collector. If Luka wins that series, look the F out. His prices are going to go absolutely crazy if they manage to beat the Clippers. Alec, I do not think raw prices will change because grading's a mess right now. Grading is king. So I don't think grading being crazy is going to drastically affect raw prices. The surprising thing is of the three companies, PSA is chugging along the most normal at the moment, which is scary to think about. So we'll see what happens long term with them. But unless you have bulk orders, PSA and bulk orders are a mess. But anything that's a non-bulk order seems to be, you're not going to get it back in like 2 weeks, but cards seem to be moving through the system with PSA as long as it's not a bulk order. So $700 for Prism retail box, 24 packs. Yeah, I think it goes up. The question is do you want to tie that money up for long term? If you're willing to shell out $700 a box and then hide it in a closet for a year, you're going to get a great return on it. The question is are you willing to tie up that money for that long? I don't see Prism Wax doing massive $200 spikes like it was doing 2 months ago, like over the last 60 days. I think it's going to be a slow creep up again. But if you're getting into wax, you got to be in it for the long term. So as long as you're fine tying up the money, whatever you do, don't rip it. Do not spend $700 on Prism Wax and rip it unless that's your thing. I don't know everyone's financial situation. If you're rolling around in the Scrooge McDuck vault bank of money while you're watching this, you do you. If you're in it to quote unquote make money, if you're on the investment side of things, sure. If you can afford $700 per box of Prism Wax and hide it somewhere, you're buying in kind of high. But go look at what last year's Prism Wax's retail boxes are selling for. I think they're like $2,000. I haven't checked recently. And once again, they just got a big spike because Luka went crazy. But who's to say, Ja doesn't play out of his mind next year? Or I'm hesitant on Zion, but if Zion comes back and looks great to start the season next year, his prices are going to shoot right back up again. And Wax is going to shoot right back up again. And if you think finding Prism retail wax now is hard, wait till next year when the supply is even less. I think the opportunity to Alec. I think the opportunity to buy Zion is around nowish. I'd give it another week or two. See what. There's no rush to buy Zion right now. Um, I would give it another week or two to track what his prices do once the playoffs kick off. As of right now, he's leveled off. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the stream, but I talked specifically about Zion and Ja. So if you missed the first half of this, pop in and check that out. But he was up at $800. He dropped down to almost 550, 600, and he seemed to level off around 550 right now. I'll be curious to see if he goes down a little bit more once the attention shifts to the playoff guys. I don't think he goes sub 500, or if he goes sub 500, I don't think it's much. So I would track his prices over the next 7 to 21 days. And if you see it go around 500, I would probably buy. If you see it start shifting back up and you want it, I would jump in. But I think we're basically Zion's essentially flat right now for a while. Do you think Luka won't drop after they lose to the Clippers? I think he'll drop, but it's not going to be a Zion level drop. I think he'll go down just a little bit, but he's not going to go down a ton. G, I don't disagree with your take on Zion from a long-term perspective, but I believe there is money to be made in Zion between now and the start of next season. If you buy Zion at the floor now at between 5 and 550, what's going to happen is Zion's going to pancake. It's going to plateau. He's going to be flat. And then as the hype builds for next season, his prices are going to shoot back up. It's just the way that it works. So if you're willing to lock the money up for 4 months, 3 months, whatever it ends up being, and you buy now at the floor, I think there's an opportunity to turn that into profits if you sell before the season starts. I don't necessarily disagree with your Blake Griffin comp. I've been comparing him. In my mind, there's like a large percentage chance that he turns into Blake Griffin, which Blake Griffin was a great player, and then injuries tore him apart. I could easily see that career path happening. In fact, that's probably the most likely scenario. The odds that he's the next LeBron or Giannis or whatever are probably slim to none. I still think between the two, Ja is by far the better long-term hold. I would want myself personally, I have very little tied up in Zion. I have most of my stuff tied up in Ja when it comes to this year's class. Alec, in regards to dip for the off season, I don't know because this off season is not a normal off season. One, it's not even 100% sure when next season starts. The early thought process was early December. The latest rumor from like Zach Lowe, Woj, Howard Beck, those guys on the podcast and stuff that I listen to, has been there's talk now that the season might not start to 2021. Perhaps as late as February or March of 2021. If that happens, there could be a bigger dip. If it's December, the off season's going to be short, and I don't think there'll be much dip at all. The other thing that I'm not sure about is we basically just had an off season. We essentially had an off season in the middle of the season. There was an off season from March to August, and all that happened is everything went up. So I don't know if you could spin that forward and say, hey, the off season is going to mirror what just happened with the downtime due to the pandemic. I just don't know. Everyone's kind of in a... Anyone that tells you they know what's going to happen, they don't know because we've never been in this situation before. Under normal circumstances, card prices take a slight dip in the off season and then pick back up again. However, we're not normal circumstances. We're as far from normal circumstances as you could get. So a lot of it's going to depend on when the actual season start date is, I think. If it's early December, there's going to be like no downtime. We're going to crown a champion and boom, right in the next season. I think we're going to have a good idea as we move through the first couple rounds of playoffs and we see what happens with the guys that exit and the guys that aren't playing. Let's look at Kobe White's prices in 21 days and see, are they trending down, staying flat, or trending up? because Kobe White's essentially in the off season. Guys like that. Let's see what happens with guys like that. I don't have a great answer for you today because we're kind of in uncharted waters. So if Zion is still out of shape next season, then I'll sell all my Zion. I would look to, if I had Zion and I have some coming back from grading right now, and I have more out at grading. I am holding all Zion. Excuse me, guys. Grab a drink. I am holding all Zion till the start of next season. HT Sports basketball. HT Sports asked buying or football. Or baseball, buying opportunities in baseball or football. Sorry, getting loopy. We've been going for 2 hours, 120 hour and 20 minutes. Holy smokes. I'm still feeling out the baseball market. Football, I think, is going to be wild. I'm slightly on edge of football because I'm worried of virus concerns and how that's going to affect games. Are we going to have a baseball situation where games are getting canceled left and right? However, I think we're going to see price fluctuations like the football market has never seen before when these guys go crazy on a Sunday. I think if a backup quarterback gets a start or a wide receiver has a big game, I think we're going to see big price spikes like we do in the NBA. I think what you are seeing in the NBA market is going to roll forward with football. Traditionally, football has been a quarterback-driven sport. Running backs and wide receivers hold little to no value compared to football or compared to quarterbacks. I think that is going to shift. I think a lot of these undervalued running backs and wide receivers, if they have big games, are going to spike. My problem with football is it's a very much get in, get out. I would not want to be long-term holding running backs. Those guys are literally, any football player is literally one snap away from their card values going from extremely high to nothing. One of these guys tears an ACL, they're out a year and a half, and they are toast, and their card prices are going to tank. I would not want a large majority of my sports card pie chart made up of football stuff. That is my personal feelings on it. You do you, it's your money, it's your sport, whatever you like getting into. But I don't want that type of volatility, and I would very much be spreading the risk around to multiple different players. I would not be all in on Saquon and nobody else. If you're going to get into football, I would spread it around as much as possible so you don't lose your ass due to injuries. And if I had, say, Saquon Barkley PSA 10s or whatever, they've already spiked. This is already happening. The money's starting to shift to these skilled position players like that hasn't really happened before. If Saquon comes out hot the first 2 weeks and his prices double or triple, I am not hesitating to sell out if I make good profit on football stuff. The way I view football, unless it's a quarterback, there is no such thing as a long-term hold. If I get in on one of these guys and their prices explode, I'm getting the hell right back out. I'm making my money and getting out. If I could double my money, if it's like the NBA market where guys PSA 10s double, triple, quadruple in the event of one game, if one of these guys goes off on Monday Night Football and his prices go crazy, I'm hitting the sell button on Wednesday and taking that money and buying something else with it. I'm not going to get caught with my pants down with football. I assume everyone in here, if you haven't collected football cards, you've probably played fantasy football. These guys go down left and right, and their card prices are going to tank when they get hurt. Look at what happened to Jaren Jackson Jr.'s card prices, and look at what happened to Ben Simmons' card prices. They are guys that got hurt in this new market that we all live in, and their prices tanked instantly. Ben Simmons' PSA 10 Optic dropped $150 in a week. I'm not going to get caught holding the bag on football players. Football to me is a get in, get out. Get in at a low point of entry. They have a couple good games. Sell. That's just my hot takes on the football market. But I also don't know the football market as well as basketball. Basketball is key. Buy KD Prism update now. Yeah, any of the Prism update stuff if you could get it cheap enough. I think are buys. KD's kind of forgotten about. Don't forget Kyrie Irving's in there as well. So, um, I would be shocked if there is a Summer Olympics next year. I'm not worried about Summer Olympics for 2021. I would be absolutely shocked if there is a Summer Olympics. Um, what else do we got? HC Sports, I have concerns about Wentz for the same reason, the injury concerns. I just do not like heavily investing into these guys that have major injury concerns, especially in this new market that we're in. So, all right, that's all I got for you guys today. We've been going for almost an hour and a half. I did not expect to go this long. Usually my weekend review videos are 30 minutes. This is the first time trying this live. I don't know that I'll be doing these live going forward. I'm going to see how we do here and see what my times are like. It's hard finding a good time to do live now that sports are back, because you, like me, would rather be watching sports. So I may do these on Sunday mornings. That's usually when I record the weekend review. Today got away from me. So I may try to schedule these again for like a Sunday morning chat type thing, like at around 9 or 10 a.m. Eastern Standard U.S. time, and come on and do the weekend review, go through the stuff that I'm seeing, in addition to the normal videos that you guys are seeing throughout the week. But, once football starts up again, Sunday evening, Sunday afternoons are no good. We're about to have NBA games back. That's why I thought today would be a good day to pop on and try to do a live. But thank you guys for checking in and chatting with me today. Thank you guys for subscribing, liking. I hate talking about the YouTube crap, but you got to talk about it if you want your videos to be seen. So keep commenting, keep liking, sub, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dog, whatever. I hate pushing the YouTube nonsense. I hate when people spend 20 minutes at the beginning of their video talking to double click the like buttons and subscribe and sign up for their Discord membership programs. That's not what I'm there to listen to. I want to hear your content, not your sales pitch. So I try not to focus too much on that stuff, but we have broken through 500 subscribers. The channel has grown way faster than I thought it was going to. I started this as something to do during a global pandemic. It took me a while to get my feet under me, but I feel like we are off and running now, and everyone seems to be enjoying the content. So that's all I have for you guys. Everybody have a good night, and we will catch you guys on the next video. I am not sure what it's going to be about yet. I'm going to wait a little. Oh, actually, I do know what the next video is going to be. The next video is going to be a mail day / SGC reveal. My SGC submission has finally finished grading. It is shipping back to me right now. In theory, I should have it Tuesday, but USPS is a mess right now. So I will do a reveal on the SGC cards. That'll probably be the next video that I do, and a mail day. I have a bunch of cards coming in the mail early next week, in addition to the SGC order. So, all right, we're going to get out of here, guys. Have a nice night. We will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.